This is a lonely island lost in the middle of an endless ocean. And for the next 100 days, I won't just try to survive, I will push my limits and turn this place into the coolest island I've ever built. So sit back, relax, and join me on this epic journey. On day 1, I spawned on a small sand area beside the island, so I made my way to the mainland and punched down my first tree. I crafted my first wooden pickaxe and dug into the closest hill where I gathered some cobblestone. With it, I crafted all the stone tools and started exploring the island. I found a turtle and realized that we have a big problem. I couldn't find any spruce wood, which is gonna make building a lot more difficult. But anyways, I spent some more time chopping down a couple more trees. Along the way, I collected seeds for a future food source and even found some sugarcane. I also managed to get a bit of starter food. On one side of the island, I set up a small wheat and sugarcane farm. After that, I went back, gathered more stone and crafted a furnace where I started cooking my meat. In the meantime, I mined a little and found my first iron as well as a huge coal vein. When I looked outside, it was already night. I spotted 2 sheep, so I crafted some shears and collected a single piece of wool. Out of nowhere, a skeleton shot me. I honestly didn't expect to take so much damage from a skeleton. I guess I'm just not used to hardcore yet. Not wanting to push my luck, I run back to my base. Since I couldn't get enough wool for a bed, I decided to mine down instead. As I mined, I accidentally ran into the ocean and had to patch everything up. While digging further down, I found more iron and stumbled into a large cave. As I approached, a zombie attacked me, and suddenly I got shot from the dark. I ran back up, almost dodged another hit, and blocked the way just in time. Then crafted cobblestone stairs and placed them all the way up. For some reason, an enderman randomly spawned in my base, so I killed him. By then, the sun started setting, and I went to check on my wheat and sugarcane farm. The wheat wasn't ready yet, so I just expanded the sugarcane farm. On the way back, I gathered some more wood. Back in the base, I expanded the mine by 1 more block again, where I found some more iron. When I looked outside, I hoped to find another sheep, but I saw too many mobs in front of my base. I didn't risk it, so I went back. I blocked the entrance, but 2 creepers followed me. I got greedy and took them both down. With the iron I had found, I finally crafted a chest plate, which gave me a bit of safety. After waiting the night through, I spotted a sheep, sheared it, and finally got 3 pieces of wool. I then accidentally looked at an enderman, so I sprinted back and somehow managed to kill him without taking any damage. Right after that, I had to clean up a few mobs still wandering around, which dropped me down to just 3 hearts. I ate some rotten flesh, which luckily gave me some health back. I went back and took down the last skeleton. With that done, I chopped down a few trees to make space for my first starter base. Since the only food I had left were 3 apples, I built a simple animal pen out of fences. Using the wheat, I lured in the sheep and bred them. I finished the day expanding my wheat and sugarcane farm once again. Back at the base, I crafted my first bed, slept through the night, and started day 4 with a mining trip to gather building materials. With the iron I found, I crafted a pickaxe, an axe, and some iron boots. After collecting more sugarcane, I jumped straight into terraforming and built the first floor of my base during days 5 to 7. I used oak logs, mixed stones, and finished it off with oak planks for the flooring. At this point, I finally had a safe place to stay. Since I didn't want to live on dirt, I replaced it with oak planks and even added a staircase to reach the 2nd floor. Underneath, I placed furnaces and detailed it with fence gates. After moving in all the essentials, I finally had a real home. On day 9, I expanded the sugarcane and wheat farm again and spotted a shipwreck off the coast. So I crafted a boat and headed out. Inside the chest, I found 2 armor templates, potatoes, and carrots. Back on the island, I quickly planted new farms with them. Days 9 to 11 were spent building the 2nd floor of my base. I used oak logs and birch planks and even added a simple balcony. By the end of day 11, I bred my sheep again, but unfortunately had to take out 2 of them for food. At least the next day started with some perfectly cooked meal. I then decided to explore the ocean. I killed some fish and even ran inside an underwater cave. I used the door trick to mine as many ores as I could find. I found tons of coal and iron. By the time the sun was rising, so I swam back to the island, chopped down more trees and even crafted some golden apples. With all that iron, I could finally make a full set of armor and tools. On day 13 I found a singular chicken and lured it into my animal pen. Sadly, hunger struck again, so 2 of the sheep didn't make it. Later that day, a wandering trader spawned, but as always his trades were garbage, so I killed his llamas for their leather. The next day I discovered another shipwreck. The first chest was stacked with iron, emeralds and lapis, but the second chest wasn't even worth opening. Since I was planning a big mining trip, I gathered a half a stack of fish to prepare. I hid the hay, packed all the cooked fish with me and headed into the cave. I took a look inside and tried to deal with the mobs. They brought my health down to 2.5 hearts, so I quickly blocked the entrance and ate the fish to regenerate. I then risked going further in, took down some mobs and had my luckiest moment. I found some iron and just beneath it 5 diamonds. Later on, I stumbled upon a spawner. One chest had some iron and the other one had an enchanting apple, which was insane. I collected more ores and took down some mobs. At one point, I dropped down to 3 hearts, but luckily a skeleton started fighting a zombie. I took the chance, blocked myself in, ate a fish to regain some hearts and risked looking outside. A skeleton and 2 zombies were in front of me, and I couldn't place any blocks. I switched between hitting them, which helped me to take down the skeleton, but I was so low that I was just holding my shield hoping to heal. My heart kept rising. With no other option, I ran outside, took a hit from a zombie, and survived with only a single heart. I managed to take down the remaining mobs, rushed back up, and still couldn't believe I survived. Back in the base, I crafted my first diamond pickaxe and stored the other 5 diamonds for now. Before returning to the cave, I bred all the sheep again. Back down in the cave, I wanted to extend the staircase down to diamond level, so I fixed the tunnel where the cave was and continued mining with my new diamond pickaxe. I even found more diamonds along the way. At height -59, I created a small room with a crafting table and a chest for storage. I also crafted deep slate stairs and placed them all the way up. Back home, I crafted all the essential diamond tools. Using the deep slate I collected, I made some building blocks and started working on the roof of my house. For contrast, I mixed polished and normal granite. I liked the shape of the roof, but it looked too empty, so I added a simple window and a chimney, which improved a lot. I spent the rest of day 20 expanding my wheat, carrot and potato farms until a creeper sneaked behind me and almost made me fall out of my chair. Of course, I covered everything with dirt. The next day I bred the sheep again and combined the 2 small pens into a big one. Since I couldn't leave it, I had to look straight into an enderman's eyes, which I lured into my base and killed him easily. I really wanted to start enchanting my tools, so I headed back to the mine and started strip mining. I heard a lava pool, dug in that direction and found 2 more diamonds. I also collected 14 blocks of obsidian for an enchanting table and a nether portal. On the way back I even found more diamonds and some lapis. Back on the island I harvested all the fully grown sugarcane and used it to craft a book. After setting up an enchanting table on the 2nd floor, I gave all my tools some basic enchantments. I then went back down and gathered a lot of granite and diorite for my next build. After collecting over 10 stacks of blocks, I returned to the surface, removed some trees and started terraforming the area. I then began building the foundation of the new barn out of granite, raised the walls to a good height and built the entrance using diorite slabs and walls. I also added windows on all sides, which looked pretty nice. At this point I realized we still had no cows, so I sacrificed almost all the sheep, hoping a cow would spawn. After that distraction, I continued building and started the outline of the roof with diorite. As night fell, I finally spotted cows, collected wheat and lured them into my animal pen to breed them. The next day I continued building the roof, this time using deep slate for contrast. Since I ran out of wood, I chopped down nearly all the trees on the island. After collecting 3 stacks of logs, I used them to build a small animal pen on one side of the barn. I spent the rest of day 30 collecting sugarcane, wheat, carrots and potatoes. The next day I dove straight into the water to grab some gravel and dirt, since I needed coarse dirt for the pathways. Back at the barn I got to work on the interior. First I built an animal pen on one side and even added stairs that led up to the second floor. Pretty quickly I ran out of wood, so I chopped down more trees. And along the way I even found a lilac flower, which I picked up. Once I had enough materials, I replaced the floor of the barn with a path running through the middle and textured it with coarse dirt and gravel. With the new wood I built the second floor, turning it into a storage loft filled with hay bales, chests and barrels. I really liked how this area turned out. On the first floor I broke through a wall so the inside pen would connect to the outdoor one. Then I placed down some lanterns and textured the ground again with dirt and gravel. Since I had no more hay bales, I harvested wheat and stacked a few inside for decoration. Then I bred the sheep and cows one last time before leading them into their new home. I've put all the sheep on one side and the cows on the other. Now I could finally remove the old animal pen and use the space for a huge wheat, carrot and potato farm. Once that was finished, I connected my starter house to the barn with a dirt path. I used coarse dirt and detailed it with granite. At the end of day 38, I bred all the sheep and cows again. On day 39, I started terraforming the area in front of the cave entrance. It looked too boring, so I built a simple wooden frame and surrounded it with different types of stone. I then connected the cave entrance to my other builds with a more detailed pathway. Inside I cleared some blocks to make a smooth trail leading down to the staircase. I expanded the entrance and added barrels, chests, stone cutters and other details to make it look like a real mineshaft entrance. By then I was running low on food, so I bred the animals again and took down the most of the cows, which gave me a full stack of steak and 42 leather. Back at the base I cooked the meat and crafted books for bookshelves to upgrade my enchanting table. With that I finally managed to get a pickaxe with fortune. Since I still had no diamond armor, I headed back into the mines. After just 2 days of strip mining, I collected 39 diamonds. More than enough for now. Back home I crafted a full set of diamond armor and enchanted everything with protection too. On day 46 I began collecting wheat and seeds for my next project. One wheat farm just wasn't enough, so I built a second one on the left side of my starter base. The next day I gathered a ton of wood because I was planning something big. I started terraforming along the coastline since I wanted to build a small harbor that would fit perfectly with the island. I laid out oak plank platforms along the shore and smaller ones stretching into the water. Since they looked like they were floating, I secured them with wooden pillars and for extra detail I added barrels as support. To bring it to life I scattered in cauldrons, chests, crafting tables, fences and lanterns for lightning. Once again I ran out of wood and had to chop down more trees. To give the platform some variation, I replaced some of them with stripped oak logs. On the longest platform, I built a simple sailing boat using birch planks and wool for the sail. By the time I finished the harbor, the sun was setting, so I made my way back home, hit the hay and started breeding my animals for XP on day 55. Out of nowhere, I got the idea to build a lighthouse. To prepare, I went mining and gathered tons of stone. And I even collected every single block of diorite I could find. I also grabbed 8 stacks of granite before heading back up. On the other side of the island, I flattened a sandy hill and laid out a circular foundation of diorite. Then I alternated layers of diorite and granite until I reached a good height. After raising the walls, I replaced the sandy floor inside with cobblestone, added a staircase and built a second floor out of oak planks. On the second and third floor, I added windows on each side and connected them with a ladder running to the top. To finish day 60, I made a 360 water MLG from the tower. On day 61, I experimented with small roofs above the windows using deep slate. They looked so good that I added them to every side. The day flew by and I only managed to add a new floor before sleeping in the lighthouse. The next morning I added a small cabin on top with a lantern as a placeholder. On day 64, I harvested the wheat fields, replanted them, and mined gravel, hoping for a flint. With a flint and steel crafted, I built a nether portal, lit it, and stepped inside for the first time. I spawned in a crimson biome, which was perfect for gathering shroom lights. But after collecting more than enough, I got attacked by a whole army of hoglins, so I escaped through the portal. I placed the shroom lights inside the lighthouse, but they looked too orange. So I went back, climbed high into the nether, and collected glowstone instead. It felt risky, but it paid off. The glowstone looked way better. With the lighthouse done, I built a small house out of cobblestone and tuff beside it. I swapped the sandy floor with oak planks and stripped logs. I kept the interior simple with barrels and a crafting table. Over the next 2 days, I connected all my new builds with a detailed path. I also added granite and oak slabs to smooth out the height differences. Before heading back, I noticed the empty spot in front of my base. I decided to turn it into a hay bale storage area, so I crafted a ton of hay bales and stacked them inside. I replaced the floor with a detailed one and even collected some grass to place it inside. Next, I felt my nether portal needed an upgrade, so I gathered a good amount of stone and andesite. Back at the surface, I built pillars around the frame and added details to make it look far more epic. I guess that was a day well spent. Since I wanted to connect the portal to my path, I collected 7 stacks of dirt and gravel, crafted coarse dirt, and built a new path leading towards the nether portal. As always, I detailed it with granite, dirt path and coarse dirt. From there, I jumped straight into my next project. I began by building a small river flowing from my barn to the ocean. To cross it, I built a small oak bridge. At first, I used cobblestone, but I didn't like it, so I swapped it for granite. I even built a second bridge where the coastal path runs. Since I wanted a grass field next to the nether portal, I connected the existing grass to the dirt so it would spread. Then I filled the remaining sand with more dirt. I bone mealed the pond and its surroundings to make it feel natural and cozy. Back at the base, I found a book with feather falling too, so I enchanted my boots with it. That night, a wandering trader showed up. I spent almost all my emeralds on lily pads, which I can use for the pond later. But sadly, I killed the llamas for their leather. At this point, I wanted better enchantments, but I was nearly out of XP, so I decided heading back into the nether. But it ended up being the riskiest thing I did on this hardcore world. The moment I entered, I got randomly attacked by an enderman, but as always, I took him down without any problems. I went exploring and collected tons of quartz and gold, which gave me a lot of XP. After a while, I discovered the bastion. I knew it was a huge risk, especially in hardcore, but I couldn't leave it unexplored, so I bridged my way over. Before jumping onto the structure, I ate a golden apple and took down some piglins. To make it quick, I broke every chest I could find. At one point, a hoglin attacked me. I tried to escape, but it pushed me down. I almost saved me, but its friends pushed me straight off the bastion into the lava. I ate an enchanted golden apple and threw a nether pearl just in time, which saved me. While looting more, I got attacked again, took a couple of hits and decided to escape. But not before grabbing the last chest, which gave me 4 ancient debris. I quickly built my way back up and took the fastest route out of the bastion. On my way back, a hoglin tried to block the bridge, so I knocked him down. Another piglin tried to deal with me before stepping through the nether portal. I can't explain how relieved I was to be back on the island. My heart was pounding the whole time. Back home, I slept through the night, smelted the ancient debris, and crafted a netherite ingot which I stored for later. I also crafted more golden apples, bred my animals, and took a few down for extra XP. When I checked on the grass field, I noticed it had barely spread, just 2 blocks. That meant I needed a silk touch shovel, so I headed back to the mine, started strip mining, and found more coal before running into a mine shaft. There I collected lapis, iron and more coal, and discovered a spawner with golden apples, bones and name tags inside. I even came across more chests, but eventually got lost underground. To get out, I dug straight up and emerged in the middle of the ocean. I crafted a boat and randomly spotted a chicken floating on the water. I have no clue what it was doing out there, but I took it with me. Back on the island, I grabbed some seeds, lured it into the barn, and created a pen for the chicken. I still had plenty of meat left, so I cooked it for more XP. The next morning, I found pumpkin seeds in one of my chests. I searched for a good spot and planted them in front of my barn. Since I only had 8 seeds, I kept bone mealing, breaking and replanting until I had a full pumpkin field. Later, I cleared out the entire forest since I was planning to build a bigger second base right there. After reaching level 32, I finally got a silk touch enchantment on my shovel. With it, I collected grass blocks and placed them on the dirt field to speed up the spreading process. Then I began laying out the foundation for my new base using tough blocks. I erased the walls and placed oak log pillars at the corners. I detailed the build with oak slabs and trapdoors, then added a second floor out of diorite, making it extend 1 block over the edge. For the entrance, I built a small deep slate roof. From days 86 to 89, I worked on the main roof using deep slate tiles for the outline and regular deep slate for the rest. I even added a smaller side roof for extra detail. Once the main shape was done, I added a door, replaced the dirt with oak planks, built a staircase to the second floor and placed windows on both levels. A few final touches and bushes around the base made it feel complete. Compared to the starter base, this one looks way better. Once again, I completely ran out of wood, so I chopped down every single tree on the island for one last time. The next morning it was time to decorate the interior. On the first floor I placed my bed and decorated it with some bookshelves and lanterns. I added fences, barrels and carpets in front of it and even went to grab some bushes for potted plants. The second floor became my enchanting area with bookshelves surrounding the enchanting table. There was also place for a working area with furnaces, an anvil and more decorations. On the third floor I built a large storage area filled with barrels and chests. I finished the interior by adding blue and white carpets. I even added item frames to help sort my items. For the next 2 days I moved all my items from my old base into the new one. On day 97 I harvested and replanted my wheat field for the last time and used it to feed my animals. I also crafted a diamond hoe, enchanted it and finally had every diamond tool. Since I didn't have the right upgrade template, I used my netherite ingot on my chest plate. By day 98 I still had a few things left to do. I went ahead and grabbed some stuff from my chest. I only had a single lilac, so I bone mealed it to get more of it. I then decorated the island with flowers, bushes, grass and placed lily pads in the river. In front of the barn I stacked hay bales, added even more bushes and bone mealed the entire island to give it a natural and cozy look. On day 99 I used shears to collect grass and placed it along the pathways. While looking at my new base, I got the idea to add a chimney. I built it out of tough blocks and cobblestone walls, placed campfires at the top with signs around them, and finished it just as the sun was setting. And finally, day 100, I climbed to the top of the lighthouse, looked over everything I had built, and couldn't believe how much I had accomplished in such a short time. Honestly, I never expected to create so many builds in just 100 days of Minecraft. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you'd like to download the map, there's a link in the description. Thanks for watching!